Hey, what is up, everybody? Hello and welcome to our second live stream. I'm quite happy to report that we're on time this time, so we improved from last time. Special thank you to Lucas one more time. There are many Lucases on this world, but the one I'm talking about knows who he is. Thanks again, buddy. Helped a lot, and it seems like I am capable of now figuring this stuff out on my own. And yes, those of you who attended my last live stream, I want to say thank you first and foremost. And those of you who didn't know that I laid out a program of future live streams that is supposed to help you on your way on or to becoming a better distance freestyle swimmer, aka a better triathlon swimmer. And today we will be going into the second stream, which is the 3 pillars of distance freestyle swimming. Now, please take this with a grain of salt. This is by no means the one stream that answers all the questions for distance freestyle swimming. We will go into much more detail in later streams. But if nothing else, I think you will walk away from today's stream knowing what you need to do to improve as a distance swimmer and what the main things are that you should be focusing on. And yeah, with that being said, I'm getting a warning of slow bitrate, but I think we are going to be okay. So without any further ado, let's jump right into what we have in store for you today. So the goal of the stream today is to explain to you what distance freestyle really is and what it means, and what we need to train in order to get better and why we need to train that. What is the end goal of a training program? What is the job of the coach? And what is your job as an athlete? That's basically what we are going to cover today. I would say we're probably going to be here around 20 to 30 minutes, depending on how many of you guys are asking questions. And yeah, so let's have a look. What is distance freestyle swimming? Per definition, if you're coming from a pool swimming background, I would say that distance freestyle swimming is the 800 and the 1500 freestyle events and all open water events. Okay, so in open water we have a 5K and a 10K. The 10K being the Olympic event, and we used to have a 25K. We have Grand Prix series that go higher than that. We have very classical races like, for example, the English Channel, where my athlete Andreas Waschburger has just recently this past summer broken the world record by 10 minutes. A little shout out to him. And yeah, since we're reading open water swimming there, all triathletes are therefore by definition distance swimmers. And I think that's something very important to take away immediately. If nothing else, you should really understand that if you're watching right now and you're a triathlete, you should consider yourself a distance swimmer. Nothing else. That's literally what you are. Very important. And I think in reality, distance swimming is broader than just the 800 and the 1500 freestyle. In the pool, I think you should certainly add the 400 meter freestyle. And sometimes you should even add the 200 meter freestyle. And before all of you at home are going crazy, let me explain. For example, if you take the country of Germany right now, the best and the fastest 200 meter freestyle swimmer is Lukas Mertens, and he is probably, I would be feeling fairly certain if you ask him, he would probably consider himself a distance swimmer. So while you can swim a very good 200 meter coming from the lower distances, let's take David Popovic, for example, who broke the world record in the 100 and who is currently the fastest textile guy in the 200. The vast majority of people, Ian Thorpe, like I said now, Lukas Mertens, and we have Paul Biedermann, for example, is another example who is the current world record holder. All these guys had a great 1500, a great 400, and they swam the volume and did the work. That's just something to put out there. I don't want to start a huge discussion about this right now, but just take my word. Lots of people do really well when they train distance and they end up racing middle distance as well. And yeah, distance freestyle swimming training is vastly different from mid-distance and sprint training. And when I write mid-distance here in this line now, I'm talking about the guys who are coming from the shorter distances and are still capable of racing a 200, like David Popovic, for example, or Peter van den Hogenband back in the day. Okay, those are people who can still swim a decent 400, but they are targeting the 100 and mainly the 200 freestyle. And aerobic capacity and aerobic threshold are our main focus. Okay, and the next thing you always need to ask yourself is, what race are you preparing for, and what does your body need to be able to do in order for you to be successful at that race? And if you think about it, if we stick to triathlon right now, then you should really think, what is really happening in this race? What do we need? So we have a start. If we're talking about Ironman swimming, we are swimming 3.8K. The race in swimming is supposed to put you in a great position for the bike and the run. So we're not finishing with swimming. So we don't have a sprint finish. And we need to keep a very high level of swimming throughout that 3.8K. So that per definition screams aerobic capacity, aerobic threshold. Okay, you need some speed to get off in the start, but mainly very simple stuff, aerobic capacity and aerobic threshold. Keep that in mind. This is important because I'm going to mention this later on. I should probably start mentioning now. It doesn't hurt to mention it multiple times. I honestly think that a lot of people are getting their training program drastically wrong, because you probably know it and you're probably one of the guys or the girls doing this. You guys are drilling a lot and you're sprinting. You're doing 25-meter sprints and you do drills. So basically you train like a sprinter. And since a lot of my viewers are triathletes, not dry athletes, triathletes, I want you to think about this. If you were to prepare for a marathon run, would you train like Usain Bolt is training for his sprints? Would you do drills only and sprints? And maybe a little bit of endurance here and there, but the main block, drilling and sprints. And think about for a second if that makes sense. And the answer is very, very easy to find. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Sprinting is vastly overrated. You need barely anything of it. And drilling, in my opinion, is also vastly overrated. You need some of it for sure, but these need to be very simple drills, something that you can implement and something that needs to happen while training. You cannot drill for 30 minutes only and then start training. You need to drill while swimming already. Okay? You need volume and intensity in the right mix. Volume matters, and it matters a lot for distance swimmers. There's no way around it. Therefore, keeping it interesting matters a lot. It's very, very important to keep distance swimmers entertained. And I'm going to answer in a second what that means. It's probably not what you think, but you need to keep distance swimmers entertained. And yeah, just be a little bit creative. Don't just write down 40 times 100 pull on 130 and before that you do 100 warm up and 100 warm down. That's just that shit gets old very quickly. Okay, you can do better than that. And I certainly try to do better than that because I've been a distance swimmer for 10 years plus on a pretty high level. And yeah, it makes a difference. If you go to the pool and there's some sort of interesting stuff happening, it's a lot more fun and time passes a lot quicker. Now, what do distance swimmers find interesting? It's certainly not 30-50s drill in the beginning. You coaches out there, it is not. Distance swimmers hate that shit because they start swimming and they want to swim already. They know in case for an elite swimmer, they have to cover 8,000 meters. If you start out training with 30-50s drill, that's already, if you start semi-fast, already 25 minutes that it took you to do 1,500 meters. If you do the math, you're going to be there forever. They want to get out. They want to get their work done. You can get them creative by writing down cool swim sets with alternating distances and that kind of stuff. And there can be some drilling in there. You can write down, let's say, instead of 30 times 50 drill, you can write down 8 times 100 drill, 25 drill, 75 swim, 50 drill, 50 swim, and then maybe repeat that for whatever number I just said. I lost my train of thought. But that's something that you can do. It needs to be mixing of drilling and swimming. It cannot just be swimming. It can maybe in the beginning of the season, but you cannot let your distance guys do that kind of stuff. Treat them with respect. They deserve it. Okay, I know lots of programs. I was in one of those programs when I was an age group swimmer, where they have everybody swim the same stuff, aka 5 or 6K, and then they say, oh yeah, distance guys, here, go in lane 1 and 2 and do 2000 extra. Now your distance training begins. That's bullshit. That's not a distance program. That's, with all due respect, pretty pathetic. That's lazy. You give everybody the same training plan, and then at the end you say, okay, distance guys, do 2 times 1000 heart rate 24. That's not distance swimming. So don't do that also. What are the 3 pillars of distance swim training? And this is now something that I want you to take away. If you have no idea what you're doing, and if you do the same stuff at the pool every time you go, I want you to take away these 3 things. 3 things. You need to do aerobic interval training. You need to do aerobic long swims or short rest sets. You need to do power training. And why are we doing this? Let's go back to what we say, or what we said our body needs to be able to do. We need aerobic capacity, which is good. Aerobic interval training helps for that. Aerobic long swims help for that. Short rest set help for that. We need to improve our aerobic threshold. I don't think there's any better way to do that than aerobic interval training. And swimming is a sport where you have to match endurance and power. So power is very important. So you need to do power training. With power training, I mean tough pull sets with paddles. You can use parachute. You can use resistance, drag suits, swim with a t-shirt. You can get very creative there also. That's a great way to get creative for your distance guys, or for yourself if you're writing your own training programs. And if you don't have time for anything else, aka you're going to swim 3 times a week, make 1 training session with the focus of interval training, make 1 session with the focus of an aerobic long swim, and make 1 session with the focus on power training. Real quick, what do these things mean? An aerobic interval training is, for example, let's keep it very simple, 20 times 100 with a set interval where you're trying to keep your pace steady and with a heart rate around 24 to 26, 27 beats if you measure it for 10 seconds. Okay, so aka distance swimmers tend to gravitate towards the right pace. So they usually go a pace where if they do 20, the last 5, 6 will get hard, and they don't just want to go slow, they want to keep moving. An aerobic long swim, for example, would be like a 3K pull. I like to do long swims with equipment because I think otherwise they just are too hard. You can do pulling, you can do kick, you can do it with fins, all that kind of stuff. And it needs to be a long straight swim or something with very tight, very tough intervals, also an option. But don't panic, we will be talking about these individual things in detail in future live streams. Yeah, if you have no time for anything else, focus on that only. But I'm repeating myself. What is the end goal of the program? Basically increasing VO2 max, develop aerobic threshold. I already mentioned that. The very old school way of defining that is 4 millimole per liter of lactate acid is the threshold. If you pass that, you are basically over your aerobic threshold. If you're under, you're still under. It's a very old and vague definition. I would say the modern way of saying this is that once you pass the point where your energy resources are won from sugars and oxygen, once it shifts more towards sugars and you're as a byproduct creating a steady amount of piling up lactate acid, then you're crossing that aerobic threshold barrier, and I would say it's anywhere from 3.5 to 5.5 millimole of lactate. Just using the 4 is tricky, but honestly, it doesn't really matter. Like I said, distance guys tend to gravitate towards the right area naturally. You need to develop a stronger stroke. And this is all done by the right increase in volume and intensity. Some numbers for you. If you are a swimmer here, a competitive swimmer who's listening, you should aim for 70 kilometers, just over 70 kilometers per week as a swimmer. And I'm talking like somebody who's probably grown up, like 16, 17 years and older. Somebody who wants to be competitive with the grown-ups. That's something you should go for. And if you're a triathlete who wants to be solid, even as an age grouper, and you want to race something like Hawaii, you need to be going over 20K per week. There's a typo, my bad, triathlete. And one thing that's also very important, do not just count the meters, but count the meters that matter. What I mean by that is you need to keep an eye on how long your main sets are. Okay, it's very easy to swim 4K, 5K if it's all easy, and with equipment, you're not getting that much better. You need to make sure that you are putting these quality sets into your training program. But again, rest assured, we will be talking about that in detail in the later live streams. Okay, now what's the job of the coach? I think the job of the coach is to watch the athlete and the technique. It needs to be executed in a way that you do the work and you do the hard work, but it needs to be technically correct. If we sacrifice technique, it's never a good thing. We need to, at the end of the day, always work with good technique. Monitor the training and competition results and adjust the training plan. I mean, this is pretty basic and obvious stuff, but I just figured I'd write it down anyways. Keeping the athlete motivated and challenged. That's a big one. I think that's very important. And everybody does it in a different way. But you need to keep the athlete engaged. Why are we doing this? What is a good goal? What are your competitors probably swimming in this set right now? What did you go on the set in the past? Can you improve that? Can you split it a little bit better? You know, all these things you should be communicating that. They should know that. And that is important. Never stop learning. You need to have a good network of great coaches around you. And you need to learn from the better people. You need to listen to the better people. And you need to help those below you. It might sound a little bit like a dick move, but I think it's a waste of time to listen, you should always listen. Don't spend too much time listening to those people who are not at your level yet, because at the end of the day, it's a waste of time. And I know a lot of people want to help and want to show their knowledge, but I don't know. I think at this point, I would recommend to be selfish and always help when somebody asks you. This is very important. You need to give back. But when it's time to learn, I would be very selective with who I'm talking to. That's just my personal opinion. I'm not saying it's the right approach. That's just how I do it. Okay. And what is the job of the athletes? The biggest single one thing is trust. If you don't trust your coach, if you don't trust the program, I can only give you one advice: leave. ASAP. Find another coach, find another program, leave the sport. Otherwise, the relationship is going to get toxic pretty quickly. The coach can only do his work if he can trust the athlete and vice versa. Let me explain to you why. As a coach, you're writing down a training plan and you're expecting your athlete to execute that training plan the way you've written it. If they go easy when you say they are supposed to go hard, if they tell you they're sick when they can swim, you know where this is going. It's basically impossible to coach somebody like that. So trust is very important. You need to show up and follow the program. This is the basics. You need to be at practice. You need to be able to put in the training time. Know what it takes to win and improve, and understand it will be hard. If you're looking for an easy way, you should probably not do serious sports. Go to a hobby group, enjoy yourself. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with enjoying sports. I think that's a great way to do it. But if you want to win something, and if you do it this for performance, you should know what it takes, and you should accept the fact that it's going to be hard. You don't need to cry every day that it's going to be hard, because it's what it takes to win. That's just how it is. If you want to qualify for Hawaii, you need to swim, guys. You need to swim. It's that simple. Nobody cares if you don't like swimming. You can complain all day if you don't like swimming. It's fine. It's a cool story. Nobody gives a shit, to be honest. You got to get the same result as the last years. You're going to go to your swim. You're going to suck. You're going to lose 10 minutes. You're going to lose the first bike route, the first bike group. That's going to carry all the way over to your run. You're going to maybe have a solid run, but it was too little too late. And it's going to be the same old story every time again. Why? Because you keep telling yourself the story, swimming is not for you. Swimming doesn't matter. And it does. It really does. Swimming is important. If you want to be a great triathlete in 2024, even as an age grouper, you need to swim. As a pro, it cannot be any more obvious than the last World Championship races. If you're not a good swimmer, I'm not going to say the word because I try to keep it, whatever. You're fucked. Let's say it the way it is. Okay, communicate with your coach if you have problems. This is important. If, for example, your shoulder hurts, communicate that. If you have lots of stress in your life, communicate that. Don't whine about everything. Okay? Take yourself serious, take your sport serious, and only complain about stuff that's worth complaining about. And I think everybody has a common sense. And I think you know that when you're complaining just because you don't want to do it, or if you have a serious problem. Okay? Be your own judge. Be honest to yourself. Be reliable and coachable. That's basically everything I just said to sum it up. And don't be afraid to make adjustments and evolve. This is very, very, very important. This is super important. I have so many athletes, and I would say this is the single biggest mistake with my elite swimmers, and those who make it and who take the next step, who actually improve a lot, and some of them are world-class swimmers right now, and those who don't. If you tell a girl or a guy who's going to make it, to make a technical adjustment, they will do it. I could tell them to bend their head backwards in freestyle and breathe. That's right, they would do it. They listen to the coach and they do it. And then I have others where I'm telling the same thing over and over and over and they just don't do it. I don't know why they don't do it. Maybe they don't understand it. Then it's probably my fault for not communicating it properly. Or they don't do it because it feels uncomfortable. Bad. Or they don't do it because it's too hard. Bad. Or they are not focused. Bad. You get the idea. Okay? It may be my problem. Maybe I'm not communicating it in a good way. But please, if you're listening to this, do not be afraid to make adjustments. Even if that means that you're slower for a little bit of time because you're doing something new, different. Okay? This is very important. This is evolving. And yeah, you always need to evolve. Otherwise, you're going to die out like the dinosaurs. Okay, maybe they died out because of different reasons, but you know what I mean. Those who don't evolve will eventually disappear. Okay, finally, common mistakes. I've already said it, sprinting and drilling. Think about it. I gave you the marathon example. Know what your body needs to be able to do and train it accordingly. I think a lot of people are lacking aerobic long swims. I think lots of people are doing the aerobic interval training. I think it's quite fun. I think it's the single biggest thing that makes you fast. But if you are not doing the long aerobic swims, you're missing a serious and very important part of the puzzle. And I think it's so important that it will actually keep you from ultimately achieving your goals if you don't do them. Again, rest assured, we will be talking about aerobic long swims in detail in the future, and I'm going to explain to you exactly what you need to do there. I think the duration of the aerobic interval sets is too short for a lot of people. Again, we're going to talk about that in detail also, but just to give you some pointers, I think national level and international level athletes, pure swimmers, open water swimmers should thrive for aerobic interval sets of at least 45 minutes while they train. When they taper, obviously it goes down. And I think the serious triathlete should also focus on getting to 30 to 45 minutes, probably 45 minutes, and even in the peak training phases even longer, because your race is also going to last in the swimming part about 55 minutes, so you need to be able to do that in training also. And then the classic thing, swimming is not for me and not important in triathlon anyways. I just talked about this a second ago. If you're still running around with that mindset, honestly, this may not be the most clever thing for me to say on YouTube, but I would encourage you to not watch my stream anymore, because then everything I'm going to tell you in the future is going to go in here and out here for you. I'm here to tell you guys the truth. I'm here to tell you what it takes to be good in distance swimming. And if you think, or if you trust those people who tell you, come to me, we're going to do drilling, I'm going to improve your technique so much that you're going to be faster 15 minutes per 100 meters, by all means, join these programs. I wish you the best of luck. I hope it's going to work out for you. If you're still getting the same results 1 year from now, which by all you will, then I'm still here for you. Okay? So I would not waste my time if I were you, but if you want to find out the hard way, go ahead and do that. Okay, and finally, thanks for taking part. If you've stayed this long, thanks a lot. Helps me a ton. I think it's fun. Like, share, and subscribe. Maybe join one of my training programs. If you're unsure, at least join the free week of training. Nothing can go wrong there. It costs you zero euros, dollars, or whatever you pay with. And I think you get great value, especially my freestyle technique part, I think is very, very good. And you can ask me anything right now. I don't see any questions in the chat. That could honestly be because I didn't set up the chat the proper way. But you can feel free to ask anything after this is over, and I promise you I will read the comments even once this is not live anymore. I will still answer your questions afterwards. And yeah, I talk to you again next Thursday at 9:30 Central European Time. Okay, and since I don't see anyone asking questions, like I said, feel free to post these afterwards, and I would be happy to hear from you. All the best. Bye-bye.